At one point, Lao Tzu is reported to have left the gates of the city, having taught for many years, basically acknowledging that he knew nothing and was never heard from again. Luckily for us, he left behind some of his teachings about how you get to witness the mystery and how you can arrive at knowing nothing. I have to say, every time I come to Big Indian, I tell Blanche this is the last time I'm coming to Big Indian. Because I have nothing left to say. And because the mystery is greater than ever. I will confess that I said those exact same words this morning on the drive here. This is the last time. And it may be. I will tell you that when I taught yesterday, I felt as empty as I've ever felt in my life, as abandoned as I've ever felt, as lost and uncertain as I've ever felt. And I really did question, what was I doing here? Those of you who listened to my talks from yesterday will hear a certain gloomy message, one that I endorse and believe, that had a kind of apocalyptic ring to it. And I encourage those of you who are listening to this perhaps to listen to those talks as well. But I fully arrived at this class today expecting to have been completely abandoned and to have sat here in a state of oblivion and loss. I had a hard night's sleep, and it felt to me like it was preparing me for the sense of incapacity to really deliver anything to any of you. What the hell do I know? And then I sat down. I gave an introductory class to new students that reminded me, as it does every time I give it, that there is something incredibly special about discovering your own system, discovering your own chakras, discovering how open or closed they are, how remarkable they are as entryways into something so much greater, so much more beautiful than anything in the world. If anything, it's what makes the world beautiful. And I gave the talk and felt like I've done it 1,000 times before, but every time I do it, it always instructs me, which is always one of the side benefits of teaching. You get to learn. And I sat down here to teach you, fully expecting that it would be a very empty experience, and that I would close the door and pretending I was a teacher. And then, lo and behold, something so beautiful erupted, so totally pure, so absolute, so in love with you, so in love with being, so connected, so insightful, so available, so wanting to bless you, so wanting to shower grace upon you, so wanting to touch you at the very core of your soul and your being, and to connect you to who you were. And I just kept saying, I don't know what to do, and it told me what to do, over and over and over and over and over, with every one of you. And I kept saying, I don't have the energy for this, and it says, I'll give you the energy. Don't worry. I kept saying, I'm tired. It says, you're not tired, just shut up. And so I got quieter and quieter, and I just felt into the heart and soul of every person in this room, perhaps into the hearts and souls of people listening to this talk. And it came from its own center, its own truth, its own place of beauty. And I don't know how or why it arrived, other than it wanted to be here, and it wanted to shower you with something. Should this be the last class, it would be indelible, and it would be unerasable, and you would have it, and you could take it home, and you could feast on it for the rest of your life if you wanted. It was amazing, person by person. I sat with your dad, who poured through this class. It was like amazing. And he looked for a way to connect with you, and he took your hand. And it was like he took your hand when you were 4, and you were walking. I could feel my heart break with every one of you, because you're all struggling, and you're all hurting, and it's hard. The journey is hard. Nobody ever said it was anything but that. And we all need to be loved, and we all need to be held, and we all need to be acknowledged, and we all need to be witnessed, and we all need to be aware of all of what I'm saying. Life is so empty without the connection. It's so empty without connecting to yourself. We live in ourself, we live connected to ourself, we live in the bosom of ourselves, and yet we don't know it. And there are days it completely evaporates and disappears. And the abandonment is so powerful. And being human, we think it's permanent. At least I do. And then it returns with a vengeance, because there are lessons to be learned from presence, and there are lessons to be learned from absence. And they're the same lessons. You can't crave the love of God if you don't feel the absence of it. And you can never get enough. You can never get enough. And it's always, always available, but sometimes you have to break your heart to get there. You have to imagine that it's not there. You have to experience it not being there. Because sometimes you have to cry out in such a deep way, so that when it's announcing itself to you, you will feel the total, unknowable joy, the inexpressible joy that can only come by thinking it would never return. I was so awed by how it knew how to address you, how it knew you, how it knew where the problems were, how it knew what to fix, how it knew how to massage the core of your being. Some of you were aware of it. Some of you were not aware of it. It didn't matter. Awareness is evolving in us. And it's interesting because as you get older and everything else falls away, awareness is pretty much all you got. The only problem is, as you get older and you have awareness, mostly what's your awareness of what you lost, or what's gone, or what hurts, or what's painful or difficult. But if you can begin to just stare it down, just look at it, at where awareness attaches itself, and not be afraid to look at that, you can let go of what it's attaching to and just be aware of the awareness itself. The awareness itself is everything. Pure awareness. Awareness of something is habitual, and it's part of why you were born, to be aware of stuff, of you, of your body, of your comrades in arms, of the people you love. To be aware of stuff is the pattern. The spiritual life is to gradually let go of this stuff and just be aware. The practice that I teach is the practice of letting go. Rudy called it the muscle of surrender. The muscle not of holding on, but of letting everything evaporate. The great thing about evaporation is that when you realize there's something that doesn't go anywhere, you find yourself at home in awareness. You find yourself aware is your state of true being. But I will tell you, as you get older, that awareness will latch on harder than ever to stuff. Fear, doubt, failures, stuff you love and don't want to let go of, mortality, existential dread. If you want to watch awareness at work when you get old, all of that stuff will come up. And you will find yourself attached to it, attracted to it, because that's all that's there. And that's where years and years of practice of letting go comes in handy. Because you might be able, in sitting quietly, say to yourself, nope, not going there. Nope, don't bother me. I'm going to stay quiet. And as you do that, and as this muscle lets it go, all of that stuff you're attached to breaks down into molecular components, and you can't even tell what it is. It just returns to a state of pure awareness. I repeat myself endlessly, which is why I want to leave town. But I will say this. The state of pure awareness has aspects of love, truth, and beauty. You can add other qualities to it, like compassion for others, certain kindness, a certain kind of forgiveness. It is something truly beautiful. I think it probably then moves into a state of complete nothingness. But once you are aware that that beauty and love and truth is embodied, contained in awareness, even as it empties out, you know even as it empties out, you know that those are the ingredients out of which nothingness is formed. If you want to talk about mystery, how does love come out of nothingness? How does beauty come out of nothingness? How does truth come out of nothingness? I cannot tell you that. No answer. And if you're looking to a teacher for answers, you're going to feel very frustrated. Or you'll feel, well, hell, I know all the answers because my teacher told me. None of them will hold up. None of them will hold up. The only answers that will hold up are the ones you find, and the only answer I can promise you that you will find is that it's a mystery. But there will be something in your discovery, having found it on your own terms, in your own effort, in your own private practice, you will know that that mystery somehow includes you. That's the most mysterious thing imaginable. How did you happen? How did you show up here? How did you come into form and being? Why? For what end? For what purpose? Just to come and go? Are you here because the universe had nothing better to do? Maybe could be the answer. It was bored and created you. You came in, you had some good times, some bad times, you had made love, you had ate ice cream, you went to movies, you watched TV, you had a nice run, kind of. You had sad moments and people who loved you hated you, and you had car crashes and all these crazy things. And then you were done. What was that? How do you explain that? Well, I postulate that you don't, and that you can't. But I will tell you, while you're here, enjoy it. And I would tell you what Buddha said, the middle path. Enjoy it, but be discreet. Eat ice cream, but don't eat a gallon at a time. Make love, but don't make love 24/7 every day, because you can't do it. Find the things that give you contentment. Find the things that make you a happy human being. Find the moments that are beautiful, and then try to find a way to work with the ones that are terrible, because you will get both. Your car will run out of gas at the wrong time. You'll miss the plane. You will say the wrong thing to your partner and spend a month in misery because you don't have the courage to say, I'm sorry. Life will give you the whole spectrum. The whole spectrum. You can sit and ask why till the cows come home and get no answer. But if you're smart, you will enjoy what you have, you will find contentment, and you will, at some point, face this existential truth that this thing is coming to an end. That everything you loved, everything you cared for, even the ice cream, will no longer be palatable. My dad loved chopped liver. And on the last Thanksgiving of his life, he was sitting in a wheelchair and just sitting there fragile as can be, and I just knew he was staring at the chopped liver. And I took a cracker and put a little chopped liver on, and I put it in his mouth. And his eyes lit up and his mouth lit up, and he started to eat it, and then he was gagging because he could no longer swallow. And his caretaker said, no, and just dug it out of his mouth. And he was licking every corner of it you could possibly lick, and loving the last little tastes of chopped liver. And I should have known that he couldn't swallow it all, but I didn't. But that's what it comes down to. These tiny little licks and tastes of this thing that was completely wonderful and completely awful. You know, it's kind of where you focus, what you make out of it. But I would encourage you to love your life. And when the existential truths start to reveal themselves, I can only tell you it's its own manifestation. Nothing prepares you for it. Nothing. Except to some degree, meditation and letting go. But even that, you can think, oh my God, I'm going to be so good at it. When time comes, I won't have to hold on to anything. Well, I'm telling you, based on my experience, when the time comes, you're still holding. You're going to love breathing. You're going to love cold weather. You're going to love going for a walk. You're going to love walking through the market and seeing all that stuff. You're going to love watching the news with your partners. And you're going to feel bad about losing it. You're going to feel really bad. It's truly sad to lose this. Somebody once said to me, you know, maybe that it doesn't get better than this. That the whole purpose of the universe is to manifest. That this is the whole, this is it. This is the truth. This is what we want. The reason we come into being is because it beats the alternative. Living in a body is an amazing thing. Living in a body is what we kind of come here for. And I really, really believe that not to enjoy being here is in a sense an affront to the very forces that made us, that brought us into being. So, if there's a message in the mystery, that is, don't try to figure it out and enjoy being. Find some contentment in being. And when the time comes and it starts to be taken away, that's where the work will really start. It'll really start. When you really have to let go. Not because you want to, but because it's written. The story has an ending. It spits you out. And if you can find some grace and allow yourself to just go, thy will be done. If you can work toward that goal in your life, you will find, I think, the poetry of living, the beauty of having been alive. And it really shines brightly when they're taking it away. Everything that you took for granted, everything, will suddenly take on a new aura, a new quality, a new beauty, and there will be nothing you don't love, but don't let that make you more attached. Just say thank you. Thank you. Over and over for what you have and the moment. And as one brief moment, it will be what you had. But until that moment, you still got it. Have it and enjoy it and be grateful. Be grateful for the breath you take. Be grateful for a warm coat on a cold night. Be grateful that somebody can wheel you outside and you can see a tree and the sky and the sunset. Be grateful if somebody comes and gives you a hug and a pat on the back and a shoulder rub or whatever it is you get. Find the gratitude. It will be diminishing and diminishing, but you will find as it diminishes, the space it diminishes into is vast and infinite and beautiful. It's called awareness. That's what we'll call it for now. Presence. Infinite, eternal reality. This is what you are moving toward. It's what you've always been in. There will never be a moment where you're not in it. The extraordinary thing will be to discover what it means to be alive or to be in it with no body, no mind, no person, nothing except the awareness itself. That's the journey into what you've always been, always will be. It's here, you're in it as we speak, having a little taste of it will free you in many ways from the existential dread of it. So, if and when I leave the gates of the city, just understand that the voice that's speaking to you now, which appears to come from this blue sky, is your own voice. It rises up within you. If you get quiet enough, you will hear it anytime you listen. You do not need to hear it from me or from Rudy or from Lao Tzu or from Buddha or from anybody else who's trying to tell you something. The truth you seek, the thing you need to hear, is way inside you. It's not even that hard to get to. You just have to be quiet and pass through the doorway that opens up into the infinite that you can find in your heart. You can find it in your third eye. You can find it in your navel chakra. There's so many entry points to your infinite being. Find your way in, and all of the teaching will be there. Everything you need to know, everything you've ever cared about will be there. And so if you don't have a teacher, and trust me, in the end you don't have a teacher, what you have is you, and you are the teacher. You are not just the student. You are the teacher. And the very instruction that you require and that you need and that you hunger for will always, always be present, because it comes from the core of what and who you are. So don't bemoan the loss of a teacher, because in the end, you can never lose the teacher.